hedge funds and institutions are shorting the Ethereum ETF. In just a week, we increased 40% in the amount of short positions on the Ethereum ETF. And since November, that number is up 500%. So if you have been in the markets for a while, you could remember the GME short squeeze that we had a few years ago, and also AMC. There was a bunch of these stocks where institutions and hedge funds were betting that these assets were going to go down. So they were shorting these assets. And what ended up happening is that a bunch of people on Discord, a bunch of traders on Discord, they started rallying a movement to create a short squeeze. And it actually happened. So we had a short squeeze on GME and a few other assets. And now we have similar things happening to Ethereum. But is a short squeeze possible on Ethereum, and will it ever recover from the current drop that it had? So let's talk about it in today's video. Mainly hedge funds are the one responsible for bringing in literally the highest amount of short positions on the Ethereum ETF. And that is kind of showing when we go and we look at the charts, for example. Just last month, we had a drop of 35% in a matter of days. Now, we're still experiencing a drop in price, currently at the $1,900 per Ethereum. So things are not looking great. And that is considering that if we look right here, Bitcoin on the 7-day, XRP on the 7-day, BNB on the 7-day, they have already started to pick up what they lost these past days. So Bitcoin with 374% up, XRP with 10.5%, BNB above the 600 once again at 15.5% increase. But Ethereum and Ethereum affiliated tokens, they are not going back. So is this short squeeze really gonna happen? Do we have a possibility of still going down? What will be the bottom for Ethereum? These are things that we're gonna see today. If you compare, for example, the drop in February and the drop that we've been seeing since the beginning of March, well, February, we lost 35% in 3 days. And now we are losing around 35%. But this is in weeks, not in days, like we saw with the flash crash that happened in February. And considering that since January 2024 up to now, Bitcoin is up more or less 120% because it was below the $50,000 before. And we almost touched the $110,000 per Bitcoin. But Ethereum, on the other hand, Ethereum had a top of $4,000, a little bit more than $4,000. But this was in March 2024. And then after that, it lost its momentum and we haven't seen it perform like Bitcoin at all, which we actually lost 18% if we compare year over year since the beginning of January all the way to now. So we don't see that movement on Ethereum that we wanted to, which is very similar to what we had with the merge on the last Ethereum update. So we don't know if now with the upcoming update, with all these short squeeze possibilities, if this will make the price of Ethereum go back up, or if Ethereum is just destined to stagnate and not go up anymore, and we should focus on other assets. And we see signs the traditional media and also hedge funds are calling for more pain on Ethereum. We have Forbes saying that Ethereum is dead, Wall Street shorting Ethereum itself on the ETF. So is the Ethereum dead narrative, just like the narrative that Bitcoin is dead, that was said more than 300 times and Bitcoin always kept going up, is this going to be the same thing for Ethereum, or are we destined to lose our bags with this fight? But what is actually a short squeeze? Well, a short squeeze is when the interest for you to short an asset goes up a lot because there's a lot of people interested in doing so. So when something becomes popular, of course, market makers, protocols are going to charge more, are going to get a higher fee for you to do that exact thing, which in this case is shorting. That creates a huge pressure on the other side. So while everyone is betting and interest is very, very high on shorting these assets, specifically Ethereum, that gives in for the opportunity of whenever there's a spike in price, so it's going on the other direction that everyone else wants. When this happens, losses accumulate very, very fast. And for people or institutions that are shorting Ethereum, they get in panic because they could be liquidated. All of these factors, the short interest increasing, the high movement, high volatility, they affect the liquidation price of this trade. And when it comes close, a lot of these people who are shorting, they have to close the position forcefully before they are liquidated. So there's people buying back this Ethereum. So with a lot of buying happening on Ethereum, that creates a huge buying pressure, which is exactly what we saw with GME a few years back. And that creates a liquidation on one side to a push of liquidity into Ethereum itself, causing it to go up in price, just not by a little amount, but by a huge amount, because the demand and the supply, they get kind of skewed, they get all over the place. And so the price itself of Ethereum starts to rally really really fast. And it creates that short squeeze cascade effect because it's going to go up, liquidate the next amount of people, go up, liquidate the next amount of people. And all these liquidations, they are buybacks for Ethereum. So this is basically what a short squeeze is, explained in a simple term. And what could instigate this first spike in price of Ethereum? So we need something to start moving this huge puzzle. The first thing is a green candle. How could this green candle happen? So we have institutions buying Bitcoin and Ethereum on the ETFs inflow. You can see that we are positive. We have been positive for a while now. So smart money is buying Ethereum, not only on ETFs, but also in crypto. We are having a lot of people stacking up Ethereum. Even Trump and Trump family, like Eric Trump, has mentioned sometimes already that he is buying Ethereum for us to buy Ethereum because Ethereum is going to go up a lot. So that could be a catalyst for this first green candle. And if it is strong enough, we could see that capitulation into causing the first liquidations or the first closing of these short positions, which would again trigger more buying force, which would trigger people to close more, which would trigger more force, which, if you know what I mean, will get Ethereum spiking by a lot in the short term. Just like we saw a 35% fall in 3 days, we could see 35, 40, 50%, maybe more than that in uprising because of a short squeeze. So that doesn't mean that right now we will see the short squeeze or anything that resembles the short squeeze happening anytime soon. We can actually start to look, because when we look at the charts, we see that we still have a lot of opportunity for it to go down even more. As I explained, we could lose the 1800, the 1900 range that we are and look for the 1500s. We have a lot of space right here in the RSI for it to drop even lower. And when we check the liquidation heat map right here for the 24 hours, we're actually balanced. So there's no specific direction here for Ethereum on the short term, which could mean that we could see another drop in price for Ethereum before we see the short squeeze. On the heat map, we actually look a little bit bearish. We're looking towards the 1800s, the halfway of the 1800s, so the 1850s more or less. This is where we have some pressure for liquidation to happen right here. So again, before we start throwing numbers, before we start throwing, hey, short squeeze is going to happen, start buying now, prepare, everything like this, you need to understand that we could be going lower than we are right now. And we've had months for Ethereum where we spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months in the red. Will this be happening again? Because January, negative. February, minus 32. March, so far, minus 15. So this could be a pain for a prolonged period of time. I'm hoping not, because I have Ethereum. And as I said, I am not happy with the way Ethereum is doing. But we also have, I think in May or April, an upgrade for Ethereum. Once again, like we saw with the merge, which didn't do anything at the time, but then the following year, Ethereum went up a lot in price. So maybe we could see that and we could start seeing the returns here in the future. For us to have a better understanding on the long term, not the short term, we could use something called the Ethereum Sentiment Index. It is just like a fear and greed index, but for Ethereum. People think Ethereum is bearish or bullish by a number in a scale. So here you can see that Ethereum has had very bullish signals, and now we are seeing that there's a lot of short positioning here between futures, options, perpetuals, everything that is way in on the spot Ethereum itself. So here, a lot of people are shorting, and usually when we go below this, it's like an RSI when we are in oversold territory. This means that now it's time for the market to shift, and is usually what happens. The market starts shifting towards a more bullish scenario than a bearish one. So we are seeing this. We touched already, and most likely we are gonna touch once again the oversold territory or something similar for the Ethereum Sentiment Index right here. So this could be a place for us to enter once we see us going way below, maybe in the 0.1 range, maybe below the 0.1 range. These could mean that now we're getting towards the bottom of the fall itself. So we have to keep an eye on this before jumping into any conclusions for the long term. If you're going to trade the short term, doesn't really matter. You can just open a put, rally it to the bottom and then close the put, grab those gains, put that money in your pocket and wait for the market to shift. If you think it's going to fall more, maybe you can trade once again with puts or even selling calls for you to make passive income out of that. Whatever floats your boat on the short term, but on the long term, we have to wait for these scenarios to play out in a way that is favorable for us to enter and just hold our spot position for a while, or our leaps, for example, for a while. We can over overlay these bearish positions right here with a chart like you're gonna watch right now. And if we overlay, we have all these months between March 2023 all the way to 2025, where we touched that point of oversold, of a lot of short positions being accumulated. Now, overlaying again those specific dates right here, you can see that right after, most of the time, we had a period of bullishness. So even in times where we don't have that spike in price all at once, we have a sideways market and then an upward correction. So here, the first one, we clearly have an uptrend, but then the third one, we have a sideways period, and then we have a push in price. Same thing for the last one, a sideways period with a push in price. So with this drop, with this significant drop that we saw right now, we could be looking at another similar event like we saw previously, and we can base our trades with that data. So honestly, I think our best bet, as I said before, would be to look at the ranges, the trading ranges that we should keep an eye on, which is the 1800 range, could go all the way to 1600, 1500. If we go below that, then our reasoning breaks, it falls apart. Our idea that is going to bounce there, it's going to become oversold on the RSI, on the index, on the Ethereum sentiment index is going to go oversold as well, and then we should see bullishness. That won't happen, and it means that the range that now broke below will act as a ceiling, so we'll stop the price from going above that. So we have to keep an eye, put on paper what we believe will happen, what do we want to happen, and then we act accordingly, because at the end of the day, we cannot just hold our own sentiment and then everyone else is wrong. But the market's going against you, but everyone else is wrong. No, I'm right, it's gonna flip and you end up losing money. No, we're here to make money, not to be selfish and egotistical. So if our plan doesn't work, we have to adapt and overcome really, really fast. So I hope this gave you a little bit of an insight with Ethereum. I'm still waiting for an opportunity to hold Ethereum once more. But again, if I see that we flip below this current range that we're trading, it doesn't make sense. I'm just better off just cutting my losses here and maybe reversing the trade, shorting Ethereum as well. But none of this will be done. And whenever I make some changes to my portfolio, I'll let you guys know. So again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of news. And if you did, comment down below what do you think Ethereum will do in this following quarter, in this following month, in this following year. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday for another video. Peace out.